All righty, ladies and gentlemen, Comic Relievers is officially back. We are here for what we're calling Season 2, Episode 1. Got a couple updates for you. We're kind of doing things a little bit different here this time around. So as you guys can tell already, we're doing things through YouTube this time around. Hopefully, makes it easier for guests in the future here. So for starters, we're going to have you guys subscribe to our channel. That is just on YouTube, Comic Relievers, space in between the two words, plain and simple. You should see this event if you're doing it correctly. Definitely subscribe. That's where our broadcasts are going to be held now from here on out. In addition, we usually do our questions, and that's going to be from the audience like normal, only this time around we're going to have you guys send them to our Gmail, which is comicrelievers@gmail.com, plain and simple. We are in the process of getting our first guests up on air here now. That's going to be Eric Bellier. He's a New York guy, Mets fan. Just in the process of getting him to answer this call here. I'll let him introduce himself once he's up and live. There he is. What's up, E?
Nothing, man. Same old, same old. You can hear me?
Can we hear you?
I lost your audio.
There we go. All right, I hear you.
Still can't hear you. Hold on. Let me see if I. Oh wait, hold on.
I can hear you. As you guys can tell here,
I can't hear you. I'm messing around with everything too.
Maybe if you close out the chat we were having before.
Yeah, hold on. Let me hang up and then call me back.
Okay. All right, guys. As you can tell, we are live. Like always, we are not perfect. We're still working out the kinks here. This is new to us. But yeah, we're going to have Eric. He'll give us Mets perspective here, and he's a big baseball guy as well. It's same old, same old. We'll still have Zach and Joe around with us. They'll kind of hop on as they can, and we'll have a mix of other WTP guys hopping on. It'll be, rotating cast type style. And, we're just going to get out as many episodes as we can to you guys. We're real excited to be back. We're still going to do certain things the same way as beforehand now. E's back here.
I got it, and I hear you too.
Perfect. All right, so E is back. Eric, why don't you talk about yourself before we get going?
So I'm Eric Bellier. I joined WTP probably in the winter, right after the new year. 21-year-old journalism student at Springfield College, New York kid, born and raised, huge Mets fan. Heart attack city. We actually was on the field with them last night. Ironically, I did some trivia thing that was just like, you get on, you win gift cards. I won $50, bought some food and a new hat with it, so it was awesome. But other than that, I'm excited to get going with you guys and everything. It'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, we're looking to have you on as many episodes as you can, while we were trying to figure out that technical issue there.
I have no idea what happened. No idea what happened.
Well, you will learn that here at Comic Relievers, we are definitely not professionals. We do things live on the air. They happen, and, we just roll with them. But my question for you guys here, so I'm sure they want to know, you were doing the trivia at the Mets game, just to clarify, what was the question you were asked?
So the way that the thing works is basically it's almost like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You win a certain amount of money per question type of deal. And there's 3 questions, and I think you win 50, 100, and then 250 in gift cards to the ballpark. And the first one was who wears number 65? That was easy. I was Robert Gazelman. I got that right. And then the second one was, who did the Mets beat by 20 runs last year? And I jumped to conclusion and said the Nationals, but it was the Phillies. But at the end of the day, I won $50, so I really did. It's $50 I didn't have.
And some free food and a nice new Mets hat.
Exactly, man.
Hey, not bad. So yeah, what we'll do here is I was just letting them know we're going to kind of keep some things similar. So I'm going to just run through the standings
Yeah,
where
for
they're
sure.
right now. We'll start out as always in the AL East. The Yankees, man, I tell you, they're up by 2.5 games over Tampa. Not for nothing, I can't stand them, but
No, I mean, absolutely.
and I know you can agree with me. Or
Right. No, absolutely.
I hate to admit it, man. They haven't had a healthy roster all season.
It's scary.
It's
And
it's
you know,
bad.
it seems like they're getting better too with the all but I don't want to say all but certain, but the imminent signing of Keuchel, which could be coming up. But you know, they're also talking about trading for another starter too. And you look at that and you say, who can that be? It could be Scherzer. It could be another guy. But once they get Stanton, just look at the names that are out. You look at Judge is out. You look at Stanton that's out. And Didi's coming back soon too.
Just to name a few here, not for nothing. Miggy Andua, Aaron Judge, Didi Gregorius, Luis Severino, Troy Tulowitzki, Giancarlo Stanton,
Right.
Aaron Judge. I mean, and Dylan Betances. I mean, that alone, that's almost an entire All-Star lineup. Like,
And it's scary to think. You know, it's a very good chance that. Well, we all know that Andujar's out for the year.
mhm.
Andujar's done, but you know, you're getting both Judge, Stanton. You're going to get Severino back around the All-Star break. And
Didi's
then
almost
go from
June.
there. It's ridiculous.
June. He's going to be huge. I mean, Tulo he's nearing. From what I read, I think he's been transferred to the 10-day IL now.
Yeah, it's going to be odd with what when he comes back, what they're going to do because you know Gio Urshela has been so great with them so far, and you know you go from there, and then you look at you know you're getting Didi back, so then you know you're going to have to take reps away from you know either Luke Voigt and put DJ LeMahieu at first because LeMahieu's been hitting so well.
That's my next point. You can't take DJ out of that lineup.
Yeah, or vice versa because you know you lose the pop that Voigt has while Judge and Stanton are still both out. So it's it's a good problem to have, but it's going to be very interesting to see what they do.
Now, a team that's, I mean, I don't even want to say taken by surprise. They had 90-plus wins last year. The Rays, off to a great start, still just 2.5 games back. They won 6 of their last. I'm sorry, they're 6-4 in their last 10. However, they have lost 4 in a row.
They're up right now against Detroit.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that's a live update there. We you know what's crazy is Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he was part of a big trade for the Rays with Pittsburgh, and
with Chris
you know,
Archer.
never really came around. You know, he always had the stuff. He looked the part, but something in Tampa had him click. And I mean, he literally would have been like the hands down Cy Young had he not been hurt.
Yeah, and if you look at their roster too, not just that, but they're also missing Jose De Leon, who's one of the better young starters in baseball. But if you look at their depth chart, you know, sure, Kiermaier and Meadows are 2 good young ball players, but you know, G-Man Choi, who's almost forgot about.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Zunino, who was given up for peanuts, and Travis d'Arnaud. I mean, as a Met fan, you know, you hear that name and you cringe. It's just like they're doing it with names that aren't very, you know, standout names. And Charlie Morton's taken on a big role with them too.
Charlie Morton's a great pickup for them. And another guy kind of under the radar coming from Cleveland where he did almost nothing, Yandy Diaz is
guys hitting balls that are just ridiculous.
Insane.
Yeah.
I mean, and the defending champion Red Sox, they're 7.5 games out. I mean, they've had their struggles. They had a terrible start. I mean, it hurts me to say that, but it was pitiful.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely pitiful. They're kind of climbing back in, but you know, they're on a 2-game win streak. They were ahead the last time I looked before we went live. But I mean, what are they going to do to catch the Yankees? Let alone Tampa. I mean, if they can keep up what they're doing and get Glasnow back at the end of the year, or even, I mean,
I think I like with where they are for the most part. I like the way Chavis is playing. It's there. I think they're going to have to make 3 moves at the deadline. I definitely think looking at a team, you know, potentially, I don't think the Mets would move Ramos, but like a Ramos type of player, a guy who behind the dish is sound defensively and can hit. Now, I'm not saying they should give up the farm for a guy like Buster Posey, who could potentially be available, but you go after a sound bat, a guy that can call good games. Because yes, Vasquez and Leon are good, but you don't know what you're getting from Bradley Jr. day to day.
Now you're talking to a Boston guy here. Sandy Leon is not good. Vasquez has been hitting. I'll give it to him. It's
Yeah,
kind of coming
but
nowhere.
Leon's that type of guy that you need to have that type of catcher for a guy like Chris Sale. Right now DeGrom has Tomas Nido, who's hitting almost below 200. Every team catching has become a 2 to 3 man position in baseball now.
Yeah.
If you see it, look at what the Braves have done the last couple of years with Flowers, Stewart, and Kurt Suzuki before they got rid of him. It's not only 5 catchers in baseball, I believe last year played over 120 games. So it's really becoming a 2 to 3 man position. That's why I'm saying it's good to have a guy like Leon with a guy like Price who they rely on. You see it now where DeGrom and Ramos aren't necessarily clicking. So you throw Nido back there and it's night and day. But then the other 2 moves, I definitely think you need to go after a bullpen piece, and we'll get to a former Red Sox bullpen piece in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Let's just stop there real quick. I mean, we should have started this. Breaking news, if you haven't heard yet, Craig Kimbrell is in agreement per Ken Rosenthal with the Chicago Cubs. We don't have years or dollar amounts yet, but for him to tweet that out, it's, I'd say, almost set in stone. So we don't know the length of the deal. We know he was looking multi-year.
Still nothing. I'm still looking.
I mean, not for nothing, the Chicago Cubs, they're looking like a championship team again. I know it's early. They're in a division with Milwaukee, but they're up in first place now in the Central over in the NL. And, I mean, a guy like Kimbrell, I'm not saying it puts them over the top by any means because we don't know what he's going to look like. He might need some time, but, I mean, pretty much any team in baseball right now, if you had the ability to add Craig Kimbrell to the back of your bullpen, I don't think you're saying no.
I think it's a move that, and you're going to hear this and probably think I'm crazy, the season that the Cubs are having and the move that this makes, I think saves Joe Maddon's job in a sense because his contract is up after this year. And, Joe Maddon's going to want a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But if they play this way all year, Theo Epstein's going to see that this is definitely worth the investment. And it's going to show that, these young guys are coming to play. I mean, that young core of guys, still Rizzo, Bryant, Javi Baez, who was a toss-up for the MVP last year. Schwarber has bounced back well. Low on the average numbers, but high on the power numbers, which is what you want. But this team is just clicking on all cylinders and everything you can want. And that was their one weakness was their bullpen.
And, not for nothing, but I'm looking at the National League. I know we haven't even barely gotten through the standings here yet, but, I mean, realistically, it's early. But the Chicago Cubs in the National League, I would say, I mean, they got Milwaukee, obviously, in their division, the Dodgers, who are clear-cut to win the West, the Phillies, who I really think are that's another team. I mean, I feel like you could say this about anybody right now. Their bullpen is injury-struck like crazy. They need guys in that
pen. The Mets have the worst bullpen in baseball, and they brought in the best closer in baseball last year.
Yeah, and what's funny is I don't know if you were around, if you had seen them, but I had written a piece before the season where I literally said that the most competitive division in baseball and the most fun to watch was going to be the National League
East. Yeah. I
mean, the Braves and Phillies so far
have been great. Yeah. The Mets have it's the story. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's the story of their franchise. It's injuries to a couple big guys. And then, for a span of like a week, I think Adeiny Echeverria won them a game. Aaron Altair won them a game. Rajai Davis got there in the 5th inning out of an Uber and won them a game. And Carlos Gomez won them a game. So it's like, they're relying on guys that it's just – seeing guys out of position last night, like J.D. Davis is not a left fielder.
No.
Just, they're throwing guys out there because they're trying to keep making offensive-minded first. But, back to their bullpen, you bring in a guy with 57 saves, and then that's it. The National League Central is a very competitive division, like you're saying. This can go one of really 4 ways.
And another thing here is, I mean, the Nationals – I didn't think we're going to win the division, but I really thought the moves they made this offseason were going to kind of put them in contention, even with losing Harper. I mean, granted, this is before now. I know they played this afternoon, but when I had printed out the standings, I got 8-2 in their last 10 on a 3-game win streak, and I know they walked off today.
Yeah, they did.
Craig Turner hit a home run in the ninth, 2-run home run. So they're picking it up. Hopefully they can make it competitive. I would love for the Mets to get healthy and, find a solidified lineup and really have 4 teams that could run away with it at any point.
We were talking about Kimbrel, 3 years, $45 million.
They gave him 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So he got his money. He got his years. I mean, maybe not as long as he would have liked, but I think that's
when that number came out in the winter that it was going to be that he wanted $100 million. I think the whole world laughed in their face. But
he compared himself to other bullpen arms on larger contracts that statistically he has performed better. So
look at that's the thing is, and I agreed with that. But the thing is look at where the market has gone. JT is one of the best power hitters in the game, much better than Bryce Harper, I would say, right now. And he's making half of what Harper got.
Yeah, and it's I mean, if he waited any longer, who knows? He would have even got that.
Right. Exactly.
Boris is a Stifler, but I mean, sometimes it doesn't work out the way he wants, and it almost cost him literally millions.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just, real quick, the NL East we just touched on. The Central, the Cubs and Brewers are knotted up, tied for first in the division right now. A team I really wanted to touch on quick, who I thought was going to be competitive and make that really a 3-team, monster, 3-headed monster in the Central, the Cardinals. Jesus, man, their pitching rotation is taking a hit. I've been saying it
since day one. They need to move on from Walker, Martinez, and Wainwright. Wainwright is turning into Chris Carpenter.
Walker is officially been demoted from the rotation.
Yeah.
Martinez, I believe, has agreed to a bullpen role and is looking to work towards the rotation before the season's end. And Reyes is, he just can't. Hopefully he can get healthy, but he hasn't been.
And the thing is with Martinez too, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but his player trajectory and Yordano Ventura's player trajectory were going in the same direction. There are guys that can produce big game starts, but are so damn inconsistent.
Yeah.
And it's like, what else do you have to do? And they had the same heated type of attitude, which is fair. Players want to play with that fire, but if you can't back it up, you can't do that.
And, Martinez is a guy who was unreal and got some injuries that set him back. But, he's not getting any younger, and he's lost zip on his fastball.
Yeah.
Was what made him as fiery as a guy as he was. And, I don't care what anybody says.
It's a flat 95 now. It's a flat 95. It's not 95 with movement or anything. It's 99 is the new 90. 20 years ago, if you threw 90, 94, that's why Randy Johnson was so dominant. Is because no one ever saw a guy throw that hard, and everybody throws that hard now.
Yeah, you're seeing teams with trotting guys out in the 7th, 8th inning now out of the bullpen, no names pretty much that have not had like a successful career. Even
look at Jordan Hicks. With Martinez, the guy is the hardest. Chapman's declining.
Yeah,
in velo, but Hicks is consistent 100 to 103, which is absurd.
It's absurd, but I think that baseball's become a definitely a more offensive heavy game. Yeah. But these guys, they're not looking for like breaking balls anymore. They're looking for who can bring it. Just give me your best and I'll throw you my best. And
that's why I think partially, I don't want to keep harping on the Mets, but that's why I think Syndergaard is where he is this year.
Yeah.
You have a 97 to 100 mile an hour fastball and a 97 to 99 mile an hour sinker, and then subpar off speed stuff. That's what they're sitting on. They're waiting to hit that.
It's a blessing and a curse to throw that high. The guy throws a 90 plus mile an hour slider.
Right.
You're sitting fastball. at 97, 98, and you get a slider and it doesn't break the way he wants it to break, I mean, they're all over it. And it was what, his last start or 2 starts ago that he thought they were stealing signs because they were hitting his fastball.
The Dodgers start because he started last night, so his last start is the start before that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers are also, I want to say, I'm pretty positive the best record in baseball. It's not a fluke by any means, and they're just hitting. That's how baseball is now.
I would say, yeah, they have the best record, followed by the Astros, then the Twins.
Yeah, and the Twins are another team. Jesus, out of nowhere. I mean, you kind of saw the Cleveland decline coming, but
Yeah.
I mean, they fell off. Granted, Clevenger started out the year with, I think, 2 hits in 14 innings or something crazy.
But now he's out.
Yeah, he's nearing a return, but I mean, that Cleveland lineup's not what it was before.
And look at Carrasco. Carrasco too today. I don't know if you saw that, but he's out. And they didn't say a timetable. He has some blood disorder. Like, it's just like anything that could be happening to the starting rotation there is happening. The only thing is that, you know, sure, their starters are having issues, but like, there's no reason to bring Carlos Santana back. There's absolutely none. You know, you trade away, I still think, one of the best power hitting bats in baseball, and Encarnacion. It just doesn't necessarily make sense to me.
And, you know, Santana's having a decent year. It's
Right.
no knock on the guy, but
Downgrade, though.
yeah, I mean, Encarnacion's been all over the place in the MLB, and he's never slowed down at the plate. I don't know why it's up on him, but I mean, I don't know. It was bound to happen, and there's already talks of guys like Trevor Bauer, Clevenger, even getting dealt.
God forbid Kluber.
Well, Kluber and Clevenger, who were, I don't want to even say the 1 and 2, because when everyone's healthy, I mean, that rotation's stacked, but they have combined for 7 starts so far.
Yeah.
We're 2+ months into the year.
It's scary.
It's bad. And I mean, you know, I hate to say it, but some of the biggest names in baseball have been on the injured list early in the year and for lengthy.
We talked about the Yankees, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, another guy who, another, you know, favoritism Boston guy here. I mean, I said it early in the year. I really didn't even want to see him try and make a comeback, but Dustin Pedroia, yeah. I feel for him. I do. You know, the guy's given everything to the game. He's given everything he has into his rehab, but I mean, he's got a brand new knee, and
yeah,
with the wear and tear he's put on himself over the years, I mean, I just wanted to see him go out on his own terms, you know, maybe come back, which I suggested in like a mentor type, you know, like Pedro Martinez role.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know, again, you said you don't want to go homer and DL. I mean, look at my last 4 years with David Wright. You know, it was just over and over again. They just came to a point where they couldn't do it, where he couldn't do it anymore. And there just comes a time where they need to say that, you know, all right, there's that. And I think that's where Pedroia is heading. He may never play again.
You know, I really, really wish he didn't try and come back this year, because the fact that, you know, in the middle of a series in the Bronx against the Yankees, where the Red Sox really were trying to turn things around, and, you know, with a sweep or a 3-1 series win could have really changed things around.
Yeah.
For him to have to literally walk away from the team and go home, not only is it not a good look, but the guy he's a champion. He is, you know, he's one of the best players to come up with the Red Sox and, you know, really bring the winning culture back around. And it sucks, dude. Like, I don't wish poorly on him. I just
absolutely not
come back. I mean, you know,
but I think he's going to know. I think Pedroia has done, I don't want to say everything he's wanted to do in his career, but, you know, he still gets a ring from last year, so that makes him a 4-time champ now. You know,
I think 3. He wasn't there for the first in 04.
07, right? So 3. So
yeah, I mean, regardless,
right? Still, but he's just, you know, MVP in 08. Was just an overall good player, not a Hall of Famer. Borderline.
No. I don't think so.
But you know, it's just one of those things where you can't. It sucks.
You know, sometimes you get guys like, a clean player, never really,
David Wright, literally his numbers and David Wright's numbers are identical.
Yeah.
It just if injuries don't happen, they're both Hall of Famers.
Which, sad truth.
Part of the game.
All right. We're flying through things here. We really haven't gone on schedule, which is usually the case. So we got the AL East, the NL East, the AL Central. Really, the only thing I wanted to touch on, which we kind of briefly did, is the Twins. Man, like, who saw that coming? I knew they'd be good, but they are literally, as of this morning, 10.5 games ahead of Cleveland, who we briefly touched on. I don't see them catching them. I mean, it's early.
And they're beating Cleveland right now.
So 11.5. The Chicago White Sox are 11.5 out now, but I mean, they're nowhere near ready.
Chicago's close, though. I think Chicago's close to
making They are, and they got some young guys that are on the verge of being called up that are definitely going to make a difference.
And Kopech healthy next year is going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, and Giolito is like emerged out of nowhere.
Finally.
Yeah.
That's what the Nationals been waiting for.
Finally. Yeah, other than that, we touched on Cleveland. Obviously, I don't really see any positives with Kansas City or Detroit. The only positives I have are guys like Boyd and Castellanos from Detroit. And then, like I said, Giolito and Abreu from the White Sox. But other than that, I mean, I don't think either of those guys will really be dealt at the deadline. I don't think they'll want to get rid of any of them.
Detroit, I don't think will do anything until Miggy's gone, and it's hard to say that, but Miggy is so good to the point where they, it's hard to get rid of him. And they got rid of V-Mart last year. They got him to retire, or he retired on his own, whatever you want to say. But they're at that weird spot where they're still paying for Prince Fielder. They're still paying, they're going to have to pay Miggy for a very long time. And the Michael Fulmer deal, it's kind of weird to think that the Mets won the Cespedes-Fulmer trade, but they did in a sense if you think about it because they got a World Series run out of it. But Fulmer going down this year, his fastballs are sitting at 87, and that's, in a game like in today's game, it just doesn't work. It's just he's declining, and they need to piece all the things together. Now, Jacoby Jones, I think, is going to be a very good outfield piece, but they have a lot to work on right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You look at the NL Central, another team like Pittsburgh, similar situation, got young guys coming. Josh Bell's going to probably be an all-star. He's, hitting crazy right now. But, they're far out. Cincinnati, we were talking about before we went live.
Yeah.
They're close, but, in that division, they're considered far out. They would need quite a few pieces to be in serious contention, but they're not far. It's just baseball is become a game where the divisions are top-heavy. But
there's always that one every year where it runs deep. Like last year was the NL West with the Dodgers.
The chance of really a team that I don't want to say was written off, or I guess a better word would say is it wasn't their time yet. The Padres, again, they're in a division with the Dodgers, so they're not going to win the division, but they do have the ability to where if they can sneak in, I can see them actually winning a few games, but I don't think they're really ready to win in the postseason format just yet.
I thought San Diego was going to be the team that looked to go after Keuchel hard because
Kimbrel as well.
Because they had Kimbrel and it didn't work out, if you remember.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. I was so high on San Diego going after Keuchel because that rotation is just a group of younger guys, and they needed that one type of CC Sabathia type pitcher. And I'm not saying Keuchel's way much better than CC is at this stage, but CC's mentoring all those guys. And I think that's what Keuchel could have been for San Diego. Could he still be that for San Diego? Yeah, but I don't think he's going to end up there. But it's just San Diego's sticking around. Tatis Jr. is great. But a lot of those guys have to come into their own. Mejia has to come into his own. Arias has to figure it out. It's going to be – they have a window in the next 5 years to really get – until Machado can opt out of his deal.
Correct. And, I mean, like you said, their rotation's young, but like Chris Paddock,
well, Paddock's Paddock, yeah.
There's teams that are right there, but with the top-heavy teams, it's going to be a couple of years.
Yeah, and it's scary because the Dodgers have this just this weird core of younger and older guys where once all these older guys are gone, the younger core is going to be able to take right over. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do.
Right. It's going to be a completely different game, and I'd say as soon as 2 to 3 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And real quick, before we kind of move on from the topic here, the last division we really haven't gotten to is the AL West. Kind of what you'd expect. Houston is one of the best teams in baseball. They're rolling. Right. Bregman and Michael Brantley are having great years. Brantley was a great pickup for them as long as he can stay healthy, which he's had injury troubles in the past. One topic before I forget to mention this that I think is just a crazy thing that I read today. Texas, they're 10 games out, but they're in second place. I don't think they're going to really do anything. But a fun fact here, Hunter Pence currently is slugging, if not better than the same as Mike Trout is at this very moment.
Yep. And he is just absurd at it's scary to look, and we were talking about the way the market is today. And
he almost wasn't picked up this year.
Pence is one of those guys, kind of like what the Mets just did with Kemp, for example. He's a guy you take a chance on. You know that if he performs, and if he doesn't, so be it. All these guys are just getting to the point where they want to still play, and either they're going to perform or they're going to flop. And Pence is making the most out of his opportunities.
And another guy from Texas, I don't want to say Cy Young candidate, but literally came out of the woodworks is Mike Minor.
They're going to get a lot back for him. Someone is going to overpay for him. Oh, so I like Minor, good pitcher, but track record not consistent.
Exactly.
Someone's going to overpay for him. Someone's going to throw the boat at him.
That was a question I was actually going to ask you before we moved on from the division talk, just to be exactly certain. So he signed a $28 million 3-year contract prior to the 2018 season. So he's got some team control. Like I said, the Rangers are playing better than expected. I don't think they're going to make any noise come postseason time.
Right.
Starting pitching, especially left-handers, literally at any point in any time is coveted by any team.
His keep going. Are you still going?
Right. No, I think that it's they're either going to hold on to him and try and make a push, which I don't think would be worth it.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard for them to.
I just feel like the offers they're going to get for him are going to be too difficult to turn down.
His track record. I'm looking at his stats right now. Half of his career, he didn't get his highest win season is 13, but
he came out of the pen for a while as well.
Yeah, and he was for a while, but still 6-12, 6-6. With an ERA. He has 2 seasons under 3, which is magnificent. But other than that, 4.1, 4.1, 4.7, 5.6, 4.1. His numbers and Pat Corbin's numbers are eerily similar,
which is scary.
Right, and to have 2 years of control on this guy at not a lot of money, sure, Boston has a lot of lefty pitchers to begin with now. This is a guy that can come in and I think can make an impact for them. I'd
love to see that, but
But Dombrowski's smart. They're not going to overpay.
Dombrowski's smart in a sense, but again, I cannot complain. He brought us a World Series. I'm very thankful for that, but we don't got much of a farm system to offer anymore.
No, exactly. That's why I'm saying where your biggest piece right now is you're starting first or second baseman.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they're going to do. But this is a guy that can bring in a haul somewhere. Kind of, Brad Hand was great last year, but how much have you heard from him since? Not much, right?
No.
So with Hand going, that they can bring in a type of deal that has that return where they got Mejia back.
Yeah.
There could be a team out there saying we need to make a move on a guy like Minor, where you have to overspend to win now.
Right. And it's almost inevitable that there's going to be a team, come that trade deadline, they're right there, and that one arm is. And I mean, even if it doesn't work out, I mean that is what sets them apart. I mean, it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on, especially if his numbers stay the way they have been.
He's
Definitely.
the type of guy that a franchise like the Rangers can be smart, because making moves like this by moving a big-time guy right now like a Mike Minor is exactly how the Chicago White Sox have built their future. They made the Sale trade, they made the Quintana trade, and they have 10 guys in the top 100 right now, prospects right now. So if Texas wants to go and start leaning towards that new era, this is a way to do it.
Now's the time, yeah. All right. My dog is scratching at the door here, so before we get into the closing remarks, I asked you to put together a starting lineup for each league for the All-Star.
So we'll just go by position.
Break. Yeah. So how about we'll just go by position? Yeah, you just name me your AL and NL starter.
All right.
I'll name mine and we'll talk.
For the American League, we talked before we went on air, but this was probably the most uneventful position in the American League is first base.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I picked Miggy for the name value, Miggy Cabrera, but I think it's going to be Jose Abreu, because, yes, every team needs one, but Abreu's been hitting well all year. And the National League was my selfish pick, was Pete Alonso.
And it's not a selfish pick.
Right. And I think, as good as Paddock has been, I think you can hand this guy the Rookie of the Year award now.
I mean, unless Paddock literally does this all year, I mean,
it's just so hard to see them not, to see Alonso. He hit his 20th home run last night.
Yeah,
and he has a very good chance of breaking the rookie record of 26, which is the Mets' career rookie year record in 2 weeks. So they're going to be – Alonso's my pick at first. Who are your two?
So I did have Abreu. Almost put Morel in there. That would be –
the injury doesn't help.
No, injury doesn't help. Really, the only reason I would have put him there is home run totals. Average isn't great. No, again, in the AL, there really wasn't like a clear-cut first base favorite, so I did go with Abreu.
And it's not clear-cut. There wasn't a clear-cut in a good way. There wasn't a clear-cut in that the first base position in the American League is awful this year.
Yeah. No, it was brutal, honestly, to see the candidates. And I did go with Josh Bell in the National League. It was literally down to him and Alonso. You could have went with 5 guys in the National League, literally. I love Alonso. I love the young offensive power. You got Goldschmidt, who's, always consistent.
Right. He's a guy that you know what you're getting from.
Mm-hmm. Freddie Freeman still putting up a great year like he always does. And then Rizzo was off to a slow start, but at any point he could be the hottest hitter in baseball.
Absolutely.
There's a few guys, but I did go with Josh Bell again, kind of because of the home run thing.
Good for him though, man, because Bellinger has been overshadowing him. Granted, Bellinger's an outfielder.
So I do have Bellinger in the outfield.
But he is a guy that that deserves a lot of credit, because he's a big reason why Pittsburgh is even remotely close to being into anything right now.
Yeah, and like I said, that Division II team's top heavy, but the bottom 3 are, it could be anybody, and if one of them gets hot, they may sneak into a wild card slot. All right, so second base. This was one of my, I guess, again, a selfish pick. This
Yeah.
one I did go with Michael Chavis. Similar to Alonso, I think he could win AL Rookie of the Year if he keeps it up. I know Vlad Guerrero Jr. is
But
like
he's not doing a lot.
he's not, and he's terrible in the field. I don't mean to be that guy, but similar to Devers, only he's a little heavier and less experienced. So.
Right, absolutely.
And, I did. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was just gonna say in the NL, I went with Moose. I had to.
Moustakas, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now these are two names I think people are going to call me absolutely nuts for. American League, I put Tommy La Stella. I mean, 302, 12 homers, 34 RBIs, only 16 strikeouts, in 214 at bats,
Crazy.
192 at bats, and he's playing every day in LA in a market that is so dominated by Trout. It's just that this guy has been playing so under the radar. It's incredible. And then for the National League, I put Cesar Hernandez. At the time I made this, he was hitting 305 with an 840 OPS. So 847 OPS. So for a second baseman, Hernandez in a lineup with Hoskins, Real Muto, and obviously Harper. This is a guy that's getting the job done. So those are the two guys I took.
And I should have said this earlier when we were talking about the NL East. I think it was yesterday. McCutchen, torn left ACL.
Yeah,
huge.
I feel bad for him. I'm a huge McCutchen guy, but it's the Phillies. So, I don't feel bad for the team, but McCutchen is an awesome talent. He's good for the game. Feel bad for him. Don't feel bad for the team.
No, I can imagine you don't. Third base, I had Bregman and I had Arenado.
Yeah, there's nothing else we need to say.
Thank you. All right. Shortstop. I had Javi Baez in the NL.
That's what I had.
Bogarts in the AL, which I almost changed to Polanco because he's in MVP contention at the moment. I mean,
I originally clicked Polanco. I do have Javi. But I mean, in 53 games played, Tim Anderson's batting 323. He's slugging 498. He has a 355 on base percentage, 853 OPS. Just running machine, 15 stolen bags already, and he had 26 last year in 153 games. So he's been stepping his game up the first half, and it's just the whole thing. What happened with him, and I think might have been the Royals when he got into the huge fight. This guy has been a spark plug for a team that has not necessarily had much recently.
Right.
So I took Anderson, and then Javi's Javi, dude.
Yeah. So when we get to outfield, how about you just name three from the AL?
Well, catchers.
I got Trout, Betts, and Springer. Springer's another MVP candidate.
What about our catchers?
Oh, catchers. Yeah, that's true. I have Gary Sanchez. I
took Gary.
And Yasmani Grandal in the NL, which could have went a couple ways, but
so mine, sure, every player needs a team. Every team needs an all-star, but the hottest team in baseball right now, the Miami Marlins, and I'm not saying that sarcastically, is Jorge Alfaro's batting 280 right now, 9 homers, 25 RBIs. Couldn't necessarily get it done with the Phillies over time. Batted 260 last year, but he's getting to play every day. Already played in 46 games, and this is a guy that was the key piece one of the key pieces in the Real Muto trade, and you're seeing why. But the American League, I took Gary too.
Fair enough. All right, so I don't know if there's even a question as to the DH. I know that's only applying to the American League.
I took AD.
Yeah, fair enough. So for the outfielders in the AL, I went Mookie, Trout, and Springer. Like I said, Springer's having an MVP year. Mookie, rough start, turning it around fast, getting to see the old form. And Trout, Trout's Trout. Not having spectacular year to his standards, but
Buddy
it's
Trout.
still, yeah, it's still better than everyone else.
So
Go ahead.
I took the American League batting average leader right now, and that's Austin Meadows.
Fair.
Other than that, I had Mookie and Trout. But Meadows is another guy that was, besides Glasnow, was the big piece with in the Archer deal.
Yep.
He's slugging 656. His OPS is 1.087. Guy's on a tear.
Is he healthy now?
I think he's coming back.
Okay.
They played 42. He's played in 42 games, so it's not. He's not.
Oh, it's not a fluke. No, it's definitely
no. So he's going to come back soon. I know he's only on a 10-day DL, and he's going to be plenty fine. And I'm a big fan of this guy. I think he's going to be good for that team, and I can't wait to see them trade him until they trade him to the Royals for a bunch of prospects. just like they always do, because it always ends up being, Tampa Bay dealing their guys. You saw it with Garza, you saw it with Shields, you saw it with Kazmir, you saw it with Will Myers. Every time they have a big guy, they deal him. Archer.
I mean, that's how they've made a living, and now it's starting to pay off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in the National League, to round out the outfielders, I had already mentioned Bellinger was one of them. Kind of like you're crazy if you don't have him.
Right.
Christian Yelich, very
That's
similar
right.
numbers.
Yep.
And the third one was tough because I had some guys where I like personally, but their numbers this year really didn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
So I did go with Jock Peterson.
I had Bellinger and Yelich as well. And then I took McNeil, Jeff McNeil. Guy, came in last year, and there was the whole issue with saying that he didn't have a position, ended up playing second base. Then the Mets go and get Cano, and then now he's an outfielder. And now, he's batting .330. And he's come back, and he's been one of the better hitters on that team. So I think McNeil absolutely deserves it.
And, that, like you said, he playing second, a little bit of third, but with that team
now.
Yeah, I know, but especially with the injuries, I mean,
yeah,
you can't take his bat out of the lineup, so they'll find a spot for him.
Yeah, and he's embraced it. There's guys that want to bitch and moan about not playing their position or not being happy where they are. McNeil just shows up and plays.
Yeah, and that's what you need, seriously. And, you see guys like Holtz. I mean, that's a much smaller scale. I don't think Brock
But
Holtz.
Still, he's a guy that does it.
He shows up every day, and he's ready to play.
Ben Zobrist.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's all I got. You got anything to add for tonight?
No, I mean, we're all set. Good first one back for you for getting involved. I'm excited to be involved, and I'm excited to keep going now, man.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just kind of reiterate before we close out the night. Eric's been with us tonight for the first one back. You definitely will see more of Eric in the future now that we got things going again and we got the technical issues sorted out. We're going to just kind of have a rotating cast. Our regulars, Zach and Joe, they'll hop on when they can. We're going to have guys from WTP hopping in, which is new this year. Guys like Lou. He'll give us a Yankees perspective. I know you probably won't want to be on the same episode as Lou.
No, I'm fine. I don't want to hate on anybody.
Yeah, so we got some guys that are ready to hop on. I know Sam wanted to do a few. I know Sanders has been killing me to hop on one. So we'll definitely have guys that are gonna be ready to talk to you. This was the first one back. Actually, before we go, I can't disrespect my man. We did have one question from the audience, and it was from my man Chris Blackley. We did kind of touch on this. It was a little bit for every team and every division. His question, Chris, this is for you, buddy. He just wanted to know the solution to the bullpen woes the Red Sox are having. At the time of his question being sent on Thursday of last week.
When we first tried to record.
Yes, when we first tried. He asked if Dave was going to try, Dombrowski was going to try and bring Kimbrel back. Obviously, we know that's not the case. Chris, I'm fully on board with, whether it be guys from the farm right now that are kind of performing, coming up and filling in the bullpen, but I think they got to make some moves. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that Ryan Brazier, who was spectacular last year in high leverage situations. May not be ready to be a solidified closer. Matt Barnes, great against the heart of the order so far this year. Really not a guy I'd call a solidified closer. Right. And then other than those two guys, man, it's been all over the place. Thornburg's been awful. I don't like him at all. He's been disappointing since bringing him over.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys, looking at them right now, Workman, Hembree, Walden, they've been all over the place.
Hembree's a disappointment in my eyes. I loved the guy when he was first called up, and he even had a nice stretch last year. And, he looks like he's just lost out there.
Yeah. I'm trying to see. There's a guy that they have, and he's in Pawtucket right now. Henry Mejia was a Met for quite some time. And he was a closer.
He was the PED.
He got banned, and then he got his stuff he got reinstated last year. He's having a horrible year right now. I think he's at like what does it say right here? A 5.06 ERA. But he's a guy that when is hot, can be a stud.
He can bring it.
Yeah,
he can bring it.
And he's a guy, career 3.6 ERA in the bullpen in the majors. He's a guy that I think can be a piece that high leverage, low leverage situations, getting him back up. I think he could turn into a Joe Kelly type of guy. But they need the thing is that I don't know who's going to be on the trade market that's worth trading for. Because besides, if you look at what they've done in the trade market when it comes to relief pitching, they traded for Addison Reed, didn't work out. Last year, yes, they won the World Series. I still wanted them to go after another bullpen piece. But they lost Kelly, and obviously they lost Kimbrel. I just don't know who's going to be, sure, it's only the beginning of June, but they need to figure out. It's starting to form who's contenders, who's not. And they need to start seeking out what teams they can go ask for a certain type of guy. That's why I bring up Minor, because I don't think, a month from now, the 4th of July, I don't think Texas is going to be competing. So, there's teams that they have to start looking at. Could Michael Givens be a guy from Baltimore that they can reach out and go after? Guys that that can get stuff done. And sure, Baltimore hasn't been the biggest of contenders, but they've been to the postseason, and Givens has been there, and O'Day has been there, where they can go and get that type of guy where you know what you're getting.
And again, I can't hop on the guy who brought us a World Series, but there's not much prospect-wise that, you said, a big addition last year was Brad Hand, and you saw what it took to get him, and we don't have that.
But it doesn't have to be that guy. That's what I'm saying. It does not need to be name value. Like if you told me, looking here, if you told me that you can call up, say, the Angels and go get Cody Allen. Cody Allen is a guy who has had great postseason success with a team like with Cleveland. If you wanted to call up the Giants and go after one of their bullpen guys, who quite honestly aren't that bad anymore.
The Giants do have quite a few bullpen arms that could be shopped as well. That was another point I forgot to mention when we were back in.
Look, if Boston is willing to take, especially with Panda's contract coming off the books after this year, I think, or next year, if they're willing to take on a decent chunk of Melanson's contract, I think if Melanson gets a change of scenery, he could be a big piece, and I think that's a guy that Boston can go after.
And he's been here.
Yeah, come back. He's been everywhere if you think about it. He was a Yankee too.
Yeah, he's bounced around. He had a long career, and then since that first trade, he's kind of been all over the place.
When he signed with San Francisco, if you remember, for quite some time, he was it went from Jason Grilli to Melanson in Pittsburgh, and then other than that, that was it. He had 47 saves he had 51 saves in Pittsburgh, and then 47 the next year, and then 11, and then 3 in 2018. So he's been out of the closer's role, but he's a guy that can, in 3 years, 33, 51, and 47, he's a guy that can come in somewhere and put up numbers if need be.
I don't know if you say he's like, okay, that's my eighth inning guy, but I would be comfortable throwing him out there in a high leverage 7.
Right, because you know what you're getting from him.
Correct. So yeah, Chris, I guess to answer your question, it's no doubt we need some help. It's just a matter of what's going to be available, what we can and will give up, what we can and will pay. I know they've been hesitant to exceed further on the luxury tax, but I mean, if the Yankees and the Rays keep running away right now, you kind of you just gotta do it.
I think, but it's scary because they're in a position now where if they won in the first half and we're having the issues they had in the first half now, I would say you could ride this bullpen towards the deadline.
Yeah.
But because you struggled so early and the bullpen has been the common denominator throughout, you need to make a move kind of soon.
I mean, not for nothing. David Price has put together some unbelievable starts this year, and they haven't resulted in wins because of the bullpen.
The Mets the Mets bullpen has blown 10 of their last 15 win opportunities.
I mean,
it's you when it's glaring you in the face like that. I think Boston is at the point now where they see that it's the biggest issue and they need to pounce on it.
My big issue is, I think we're all in agreement here. There's no doubt that the bullpen needs some help, but the fact that they didn't jump on any opportunities in the off season or in the spring, like I had mentioned, the Phillies, they're hurting. Their whole back end of the bullpen is on the injured list.
Right.
The Yankees, who they're playing well, but their bullpen arms in the back end, they're not solidified at the moment.
But they had David Robertson basically locked up, and then he just said because he wanted to stay close to Rhode Island where he's from,
right?
And he basically just slipped away.
Yeah, and he's been in New York. He could have came here, and he chose to go with the Phillies. Now he's hurt. So what I'm getting at basically is the fact that the Red Sox didn't make a move when it kind of seemed like that was really their only hole after a championship team.
Right.
Now there's too many teams with that problem. And the fact that we don't get the prospects and we may not be willing to spend, it's going to be interesting to see not only what's available, but what we can even contend to sign or trade for.
They're going to need to make moves that are kind of like, I call them layover moves, kind of like if you saw for example, what they did in Seattle, how they traded for Santana, but Santana was gone in a week.
Yeah.
They need to look at doing something like that. And even look, call me crazy, but they can go after a guy like Francisco Liriano, who right now in 28 innings pitches a 1.9 ERA in 27, in 0 games started in 27 games pitched. A veteran guy who, again, came out of the bullpen for Toronto in the playoffs. Is a guy that has been there before, and you're not for a 35-year-old, you're going to have to give up nothing.
Nothing, and not that you want to, because he's shown success in the past couple of years out of the pen. But a couple starters go down, he'll give you a spot start, and you're going to get 5-6 innings out of him.
You're at a point now where I don't want to say they're desperate, but they need to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, desperate, yeah, that may be drastic, but I'm pretty sure they're going to, unless anything changes, get a win tonight, maybe close the gap a little bit. We're still more than 5 games out, and if it stays that way by the All-Star break, we're gonna really see what. And
it's not like I'm looking at their schedule right now. They have the Royals again, but then they're playing Texas at home. And then they're going to Baltimore, or they play the Rays at home, then Texas, then they're going to Baltimore, and then the Twins, the Blue Jays, the White Sox, and then the Yankees again. And I believe that's the Yankee series in London, right?
It is, correct.
So, besides the Yankees, the Rangers, and the Twins, these are series you have to win. And then they play Detroit when they're back. So,
and the Rays, that's another one. You got to get at least split, if not win the series.
They have a prior to the All-Star break, I'm looking here, prior to the All-Star break. Yeah, prior to the All-Star break, they have a pretty easy schedule minus the Rays and the Yankees. They play the Blue Jays a couple times, the Orioles and the Rangers, where they're winnable games. So,
like you said, it's early, but these are almost must-win series at this point.
These games matter.
Oh yeah, we're long past the it's April, it's May. Right. Let's worry. We're past that.
Right.
This is no joke anymore.
Right.
All right, so Chris, hopefully that answers your question. I'm sure there'll be much more on that, especially as the All-Star break approaches, trade deadline approaches. The good thing is that you won't have to wait that long for another episode like you may have in the past. Again, Eric, thank you for joining us tonight.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have you on soon. And like I said before we close out, got to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is how you're viewing the video now. If you're not watching live, you go to YouTube and search Comic Relievers, 2 words, plain and simple. Subscribe to the channel. Watch today's episode. Keep an eye out once you subscribe. We'll plan live events so that you know when we're going to go live. So you can kind of set reminders that way, which is a cool little thing. As always, stay up on date with the Twitter at Comic Relievers, all one word. And we only had the one tonight. That's kind of on me. We had the technical issue and rough time getting that first episode back out. But the questions from the audience, which we're going to try and push as well, send those into the Gmail. It's comicrelievers@gmail.com. So I need you to subscribe on YouTube. I need you to send your questions to the Gmail.
Hit the bell icon too. Get
yes.
Notifications when we're going live.
Yes. And if you don't already follow us on Twitter, that's where you'll kind of have the updates on days we're not doing the shows, where you'll be able to send your questions, and when we're taking them, you'll kind of have an idea of when we're going to go recording if you're not actively following the YouTube subscription. So doing things different, got the rotating cast, got new ways to do the show, new ways to send your questions. We're hoping that this way, we had the issues with the 3-man cast with Joe and Zach, where one of the 3 of us couldn't meet, or Joe, who at the time was the one that knew how to go live, and I did not.
Right.
If he wasn't around, we couldn't do a show. So we got those things figured out. Zach and Joe both have access to the Comic Relievers account, so even if I'm not around, we can get shows out to you guys. As Eric and guys in the WTP chat have mentioned, there's people that are willing to hop on.
We're a good group of guys, man.
Yeah, no,
check that website out too.
Yeah, so that's it. I think we're going to be calling it quits here for the first one back. Stay up to date on Twitter. We're going to be looking to get episodes out at the very least once a week now. And for the regulars that are still with us, I know you've heard that in the past, but hopefully with this new setup, we mean business, and we're going to get episodes out to you guys. So tell your friends, the best baseball podcasts around. We're back, and we're hoping to have you with us. So have a good night. Eric, thank you one last time for joining us.
I'll talk to you soon, man.
Yes, sir. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah.